He's an absolute monster on the NFL line now. But just a short time ago, not a single team would give him the time of day. I had 0 Division I offers, not a single one. And yeah, I was sitting there asking myself the very same thing. Why? To get to the bottom of that, we have to journey back to Hartford, Wisconsin, back when Quinn Meinerz was warming the bench. He knew he had to cook up a plan. I was downing gallons of milk every week, slamming endless protein shakes. I managed to pack on 80 pounds in a single year. And with that, a nickname was born, The Gut. By the time senior year rolled around, Quinn was an all-state beast on both sides of the field. It was time to aim higher for Division I football, but nobody was biting, not a soul. It was just a bunch of tiny schools showing interest. I got exactly one scholarship offer from a Division II spot, St. Cloud State, but it was only for $2,000, which made it more expensive than just going to a small college in Wisconsin. So my options were basically between Whitewater or La Crosse. Yeah, that was the extent of my big-time offers. Quinn landed on Whitewater. They had the superior football program, and when he committed, the coaches there were in total disbelief. Even after he was locked in, we were all thinking, someone's gonna discover this kid and poach him. But somehow he actually ended up here. I think that whole D1 or bust mentality, or being obsessed with just getting to the NFL, is totally the wrong way to think about it at first. Your mindset has to be about becoming the absolute best football player you can be, and you've got to be willing to sacrifice anything and everything to become that guy. Right out of the gate, Quinn was a force, even snagging team MVP as a guard. But the gut just kept on expanding. The diet for a D3 football player isn't exactly gourmet. You see, our budget was pretty tight. We were feasting at Golden Corral, and our late-night meal was always Domino's Pizza. So that off-season, he made it his mission to conquer the gut. He flew up to his great-uncle's island in Canada for a summer job, a place with absolutely no gym equipment. So he improvised, brought his own gear, and did whatever it took. That there is a propane tank. I figure it's a little over 100 pounds, give or take. I hauled a rack I brought with me and set it up right in the heart of the island. It was the flattest piece of land I could find. It was another one of those moments that really proved to me just how much internal drive I have to outwork everyone else. He posted his training videos to get his teammates fired up. Quinn Meinerz 2.0 had arrived, faster, more powerful, and ready to completely dominate his senior season. But that chance never materialized. The Division II and Division III fall championship season has been officially canceled for the upcoming school year. Hearing that news was just a punch to the gut, because I knew this could seriously jeopardize, this whole quest to make it to the NFL. Because a Division III player who doesn't play his senior year, it's unheard of. For a guy like that to then get drafted into the league, well, that kind of thing just doesn't happen. The only thing scouts could look at was Quinn's film from his junior year, the old version of him, all that incredible effort, and he never got a chance to showcase it. But he shifted his focus to the things he could change, improving as a player and making himself a more adaptable prospect. He decided to master a new position. I taught myself how to play center right in my own backyard, snapping the ball into a garbage can with a pizza paddle stuck to it. I could tell it was a perfect snap when it smacked right into the paddle. After that, I would put the videos up on my personal YouTube channel and just sit there and watch. My own performance, critiquing the film like, okay, why is the ball veering to the right when I'm trying to send it left? But to truly elevate his skills, he needed professional coaching. I got the opportunity to head down to Texas and train under Duke Manyweather. We put in about 3 solid weeks together, just grinding on technique. Duke completely revolutionized my stance. His agent sent those workout videos straight to Jim Nagy, the man who orchestrates the Senior Bowl, college football's premier showcase for NFL hopefuls. The footage grabbed Nagy's attention, and he placed Quinn on the alternate list. Quinn continued to grind his tail off every single day, but the calendar pages kept turning. We were 2 weeks out, and at that point, I had basically given up hope. I told myself, yeah, the Senior Bowl isn't happening, this is crushing. Look, I never hoped for anyone to get injured, but that was what it would take for me to get a spot. Either a couple more players would have to opt out, or someone would have to get hurt in a game. Then, during the SEC championship game, Alabama's center, Landon Dickerson, tears his ACL. And out of nowhere, Quinn's phone starts buzzing. This is Jim Nagy. Feel like putting on that Warhawk helmet one last time? I just started weeping right there because it was the culmination of 13 straight months of work. I had done everything in my power without having a season to play. I was absolutely itching to get down there. I was so nervous I felt like I was going to throw up and break down crying. It was an awful feeling. But then, a switch flipped. The moment I walked into that locker room and put on my helmet and shoulder pads, I stepped out of that tunnel, and all that was left was confidence. My only thought was, I'm gonna rip your face off, let's go. Quinn Meinerz, another pancake block. It's becoming borderline unbelievable what he's been doing up front all week. A new social media sensation, thanks to his signature belly-bearing look, is this kid from Wisconsin Whitewater, a school I didn't even know existed, by the way, Quinn Meinerz. So, a whole lot of the things you witnessed at the Senior Bowl were literally my first time ever doing them. For instance, I had never truly played the center position until I got to the Senior Bowl. I had never in my life attempted a pass set from a two-point stance. Finally, the entire football world was getting a look at the incredible work he'd been putting in. It's just a really cool feeling to have this, this big moment where people are finally starting to learn who I am. Twitter absolutely exploded, and the gut was trending everywhere. Quinn had just transformed himself from an undrafted nobody into a day 2 draft projection. Now, the time had come to raise the stakes one last time. It was Pro Day, and all 32 teams sent representatives to see him at Wisconsin Whitewater. Quinn absolutely dominated, ranking in the top 5 in every single drill. There were no more questions. He was, without a doubt, one of the premier guards in the draft class. Everything I was hearing pointed to me getting picked in the middle to late second round. But then draft day arrived. The second round came and went, and I never got a call. Man, I was just a bundle of nerves. A real mess of anxiety. And that feeling just got worse as I watched my name slide further and further down the draft board. But then, something switched. All that anxiety started twisting into this raw motivation, this fire to just go out there and show every single person they made a mistake. Then, in the third round, with the 98th pick. Quinn, what's up? How you feeling, man? You good? Yeah, I'm doing good. You pumped to become a Bronco? Absolutely. You ready to grind? You know I am. That's what I'm talking about. Love to hear it. But arriving in Denver was a brutal wake-up call. The leap from Division III to the NFL wasn't just big, it was a different galaxy. It wasn't just the speed and power of the players. The playbook was like a foreign language. So he basically warmed the bench until week 9, when an injury to Graham Glasgow ended his season, and suddenly, the door creaked open for Quinn. Number 27 ultimately gets the stop, but look at me trying to pancake him and just land on the poor guy. And there he is. That's your third stringer, getting after it. And while he had moments that popped, he was far from satisfied with his first taste of the league. So come 2022, he showed up, transformed, leaner and meaner, and earned the starting right guard spot. But then disaster struck in the very first game, a hamstring injury that sidelined him for 4 long weeks. When he returned in week 5, he was an entirely new beast on the field, allowing a measly 3 sacks over 479 plays. His game film was electric, but on a 5-12 team, an offensive guard is pretty much invisible. By the following season, he wasn't just a survivor anymore, he was comfortable. In his third year, finally at 100%, Quinn Meinerz just absolutely unleashed. He was in the starting lineup for all 17 games, and Pro Football Focus crowned him the #1 run-blocking guard in the entire league. Some folks in the media even called him the Broncos' offensive most valuable player. It was undeniable at that point, Denver had struck gold. The Broncos are securing Quinn Meinerz with a major long-term deal. One of the most imposing young linemen in the NFL isn't going anywhere. It's a 4-year extension that could be worth as much as $80 million, with $45 million of it guaranteed. In the first year alone, he's slated to bring in $24 million. It was just an incredible feeling, and Quinn made sure to give credit to the people who had his back on the journey up. Yeah, the first person I have to thank is, without a doubt, my wife. She has backed this crazy dream from day one. I mean, there were times when her faith in me was stronger than my own. She was my rock through it all. Constantly pushing me to go after this thing, even when I was riddled with doubt about whether it was even possible. And, my dad, he was a huge help. I was pretty broke, not really holding down a job. So my dad was spotting me. Every couple of weeks, we'd have this little rendezvous in a Best Buy parking lot, and he'd hand over like 70 pounds of ground beef. And then, of course, my agent, who took a chance on me. Heading into 2024, he had shed the label of being just a feel-good story from Division III. He was now one of the top-earning guards in the entire league, And for the first time ever, his teammates voted him a team captain. That new status came with a heavy weight of expectation, and little by little, it started to wear on him. I started seeing a mental performance coach. He taught me how to compartmentalize all that pressure, and man, it was way tougher than I ever imagined. It absolutely had an impact on how I was playing at the start of the season. But he fought through it, bounced back, and delivered the most dominant season of his life. He was an absolute wrecking ball in the run game and gave up only a single sack all year long. So when the season wrapped up, Quinn finally got the ultimate validation. The Gut, the kid from Wisconsin Whitewater who got 0 college offers, was named a first-team All-Pro. It was insane. Life-altering, generational money at the start of the year, then battling through all these mental roadblocks that came with the contract and everything. I went on to have one of my greatest seasons, and it ended up being seen as the best performance by a right guard. I'm just so proud of that. I mean, during COVID, I was literally in my dad's backyard trying to teach myself how to play center. Then, the Senior Bowl had one last open spot, but it was for a center. And I'm thinking, shoot, I've never snapped a ball in my life, but I knew I just had to find a way in. If somebody had come up to you back in 2020 and said, this is where you'd be today, would you have bought it? Not a chance. I wouldn't have even believed myself. But I just lived and breathed that old saying, hard work pays off. I know it's a total cliche, but when you truly make that your code, when you actually live it, amazing things like this can really happen. Hey, if you're digging these stories, do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. I'll catch you on the next one. Stay blessed.